And then there were four final teams left from 24 down to four, a sixth of what we started with in this tournament. And that's it. The hosts, they're out. Portugal and Cristiano Ronaldo in his last Euro, they're out. Granit Xhaka, despite his best efforts and what has been a sensational season for him, they've gone out as well. And Turkey, on the backs of tremendous support, have also gone out. But without further ado, let's talk about those quarterfinals, which have given us such sensational semifinals to look forward to. And then we'll talk about those exact semifinals. Of course, the action started on this past Friday, with Germany and Spain. I thought Spain would get the win, and they did in similar fashion to what I would have thought. I think for the first 60 minutes, they were clearly and decisively the better team in the game. Tactically, they had better organization. Their system was better, and their players knew the system better. Germany really struggled going forward early. I think that Spain's defense really had a number on them. And then in possession, Spain could really go from a slow pace to a pace really, really quickly, which was hurting Germany. I don't think they were ready to transition that fast on numerous occasions. Um, and so for that first 60 minutes, obviously Germany had chances, but I think to everyone watching, it was all Spain, and they were clearly the better team. And then they get the Danny Olmo goal. Obviously, Pedri got hurt early, so Olmo subbed in. Pedri won't play in the semifinal, but again, Danny Olmo, he's a suitable backup, to say the least. He's a tremendous player, and so I don't think they'll be missing too much. I think the person who's missing the most there is Pedri, but I digress. Danny Olmo scores. Great goal, great finish, great buildup from Spain. Really shows you the type of team that Spain are, the way they scored that goal. Up the field together in a team, and then boom, cross comes across the box. Danny Olmo, first time finish, bottom corner. I mean, it was just good build-up play, good team play, good chemistry shown by the team. Great goal. But I think a big problem here arises for Spain from that goal, and they reveal probably what I would say is maybe their only weakness that they've truly showed so far in this tournament. Um, at least the biggest weakness, because Germany goes on to tie the game late and then really make it a contest in overtime, a contest that I think most people would have guessed that Germany would have won once they equalized. The problem with Spain, and the problem that they found they had, was they subbed out Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams, and I think the game completely changed. Um, I think those two are key to their team, and when they went defensive and they took those guys out, it was almost like they went straight back to the Spains of old, that, not quite all the way back to those 2010 teams that were, winning World Cups and Euros, but I mean, to that in between squad that tried to keep the ball, would have 700-800 passes a game, 70% possession, and never score a goal. They didn't look threatening. They kept the ball well, but they never looked threatening, and it invited Germany in, and eventually the pressure just built. I mean, Spain could not relieve any pressure. They couldn't get into the attacking third even without Yamal and Nico Williams. And I think that's a huge thing if you're France that you want to watch. If Spain takes a lead and they substitute out those two players, I mean, all of a sudden their attack looks completely different. And I think in the end, Spain would say they got lucky to score, because first 60 minutes of the game, yeah, it's all Spain. Last 60 minutes of the 120, though, because, 30 to 90, 30 of overtime, was all Germany. I think once Spain made the substitutions, they really struggled, and Germany was able to exploit them. I really think the way that they were able to exploit them was just continual built up pressure. Again, I don't really think that I saw Germany at their best, which is kind of what I thought was going to happen. I warned that, this German team hasn't had the manager for as long as this Spanish side has, and that there was potential that the German side would not look as clean and organized as they have in some of the other games in this tournament. And I think that's exactly what happened until those substitutions were made. Once those substitutions were made, Germany didn't really have to worry about Spain on the attack as much. They poured more men into attack. They made attacking substitutions, and they put the pressure on. And eventually, the dam broke. The pressure got to be too much, and they equalized. And throughout overtime, as someone who gone into that game expecting Spain to win, I was sure that Germany would win in extra time, because if they didn't get a goal, Germany are a team that are sensational and have a sensational history on penalties. So I mean, if I were Spain, I would look at this and say, well, we know that we can't sub both of them out again. We can sub one maybe, but you can't sub both. That was not, even if you're trying to go defensive. I mean, that basically made Spain completely one dimensional as a team. Took them out of the game for that last little bit. They got lucky that Marino, what a tremendous header. He rose so well, but it was one of Spain's few attacks in that back 60. Um, on the other side of things, I think, and I was talking to somebody from Germany about this game, and I said it to them. I said, you know, I think this tournament is a win for Germany, which is hard to say when you think about a German national team that, you know, 10 years ago would be saying every single tournament we're searching for silverware. And if we're not getting silverware, it's a disappointment. But, the last 10 years, I guess 8 years, I would say, since the last Euro have happened. I mean, Germany made it to that Euro semifinal, I believe, in 2016. But since then, it was third place in the World Cup out in the groups, third place in the Euros out in the round of 16, third place in the World Cup out in the groups. So it hasn't been that same Germany that we're used to. So I think for them to transition and be as dominant as they were, and in my opinion, lose to the only team that looked better than them in the tournament. I mean, yeah, you probably would have wanted to get to a final, and you're unlucky to face Spain when you do. But to have such a positive tournament where a guy like Musiala does so well, and your organization, as a team, you look special. You have that something else. I think that's just a performance to build on. I don't think that the German team was necessarily built for this tournament as much as they are going to be built for 2026. I don't think Nagelsmann is brought in to say, "Hey, turn it around in 1 year to win the Euro." I don't think that's a realistic assumption for any coach, especially going into that German job after what it had been. I think they signed Nagelsmann saying, "Go out and make a positive showing in this Euros, and let's see what we can do in 2026." And I think that's exactly what Germany did, if not better than what a lot of people would have expected. Really, really positive turn from them. And as much as they go out now, I think they should be happy and they should be proud of the result that they got in this tournament, going to the quarterfinals, winning the group, and just performing well from top to bottom across the lineup, subs as well, on home soil in a tournament. I think it's a positive result to build off of, and I think it'll help them going forward. For Spain, it's on to the semifinal, so we'll talk about them in a little bit. I don't really want to talk that much about this game. In the last video, when I was talking about predicting these games, I said that this game would go one of three ways. I said, look, there is a 40% chance that Portugal find out or figure out what went wrong and figure out, okay, well, this is how we played against Turkey, and we're going to play like that again. And they figure it out, and it starts clicking, and they're playing offensive. I said there's a 40% chance that happens. I said there's a 30% chance that France figures out how to attack after a tournament of not knowing how to attack. And I said either one of those results would result in France winning or Portugal winning, respectively. Whoever figured out their attack would do it. But I also said that there's a 30% chance that neither of them figure out their attack. And if that happens, France wins by some random France luck. And that's exactly what happened. Neither team figured out how to attack going forward. It's a brilliant defensive display from both, but the attacks of both sides looked really disorganized. They looked really out of touch. They looked like they were slow, and the chemistry wasn't there. understanding between the players wasn't there. And it really, I think, for both teams was almost like, your midfield and your defense are playing like an organized team to defend. Great. But your front three was playing like a bunch of individuals trying to break down those lines. And when you only are putting three forward, that's 3 against 7 for both teams. That's hard enough. And obviously, midfielders are going to come up. So maybe it's a 5 against 7 in attack. But when you have them playing like five individuals rather than the seven defenders who are playing like an organized group, it's going to be hard to break them down. And I think France would have gone into that game wanting what happened. I don't obviously I think they would like their attack to be doing better, but their focus definitely would have been on let's just keep defending well. Portugal, on the other hand, I think their focus would have been on figuring out the attack. And, you know, basically, I'd say for Portugal, it was figure out the attack, we win. Don't figure out the attack, we lose. Um, and they didn't figure it out. And I think, Cristiano Ronaldo has to take some of that blame. Um, I don't think he takes all of it, but he has to take some of it. Um, Lots of missed chances from Portugal, Ronaldo included. But as a leader, I think it says something about you as a leader or your leadership style when your not even your team, but your group on the field, you're in the forwards. The forwards couldn't figure out chemistry, cohesion. And that's something that a captain really needs to be concerned with. Um, you know, Figuring out how to get his team involved. And if that means, Ronaldo not playing Ronaldo's normal game and doing what we saw him do against Turkey and playing a really like drop back in and play the passes and, being unselfish, giving that goal to Bruno Fernandes, right? If that's what it takes for Cristiano Ronaldo in this Portugal side to help his team be successful, then that's what he needs to do as a captain. And he's an old player. He's no longer the best player for Portugal. And so I think the amount of set pieces he took was bad. And I think the amount of demand for the ball he had was bad as well because um, you see it with the current Argentina team, and we'll talk about them in a video I'll make tomorrow around the same time, just so that gets out before that semifinal. But you see it with that Argentina side; they play for Messi. It's clear that they have this desire to win for him, um, but he doesn't have to be the focal point. And in many cases, he likes to play a supporting cast role where he is picking up the ball and playing passes and picking up the ball and playing passes. And you can say, Messi is not the same player he used to be, but he figures out how to win no matter what. And Ronaldo, I think there's always been some question about, is he really a team player or is he all about himself? And for me, this tournament kind of said, at least right now, Ronaldo's all about Cristiano Ronaldo. It wasn't about whether Portugal could win; it was about whether Ronaldo could win it for Portugal. Um, and so that's unfortunate. And I think for him to go out like that is sad because he is one of the best players to ever do it. And for years and years and years, he was able to win games with teams playing that way. Um, but I think you can only go so far when one player on your team is so set on being the focal point, and you can go even less far when that player is 39 years old and past his prime. So for Portugal, I think it's a disappointing tournament. But again, I think there's positives to look forward to because I think a lot of players did play well despite that attacking failure that this tournament was. Um, João Palhinha was really good. Vitinha, I think his name is, was also very good. I thought Cancelo and Nuno Mendes in the back were sensational as well. And then I also think Bruno Fernandes really stepped up in a big way and had a big tournament in that type of leadership role that I would have liked Cristiano Ronaldo to step into. For Ronaldo, I think this is a disappointment, and it could very well be his last tournament for Portugal. But I think for Portugal, they'll be sad to see Ronaldo go. They'll be sad to see Pepe go. But I think there's promise that with them gone, instead of being the team that Cristiano Ronaldo plays for, they'll be the team that they all play for. I think that without him, there will be, and kind of saw it in the World Cup at points, ability for them to have more chemistry, mesh better, play off each other better, because there isn't that focal point of get the ball to Ronaldo, get the ball to Ronaldo. I think it puts a lot of pressure on the players and forces them to play a way that maybe they don't necessarily want to play or feel comfortable playing. So I think for Portugal, again, similar to Germany, yeah, this is a disappointing tournament because you had the players to go all the way. Both Germany and Portugal did. But I think that both of them are only going to get better. It's not like they're peaking and they're about to come down and that was their last chance. I think for both of them, that was the first chance of many with their current squads to win a major tournament. I think the World Cup was too early for both of them, but they showed up with their new squads in this tournament. And for Germany, time with Nagelsmann is going to really help. And for Portugal, I think time without Cristiano Ronaldo is going to help them become a more cohesive unit. Again, not much to talk about with the game. Mbappe was really disappointing for me. The one thing I would say, and maybe I'll save this for talking about the semifinal, but I'll say it now. When you've scored 3 goals for France, or as France have in this tournament, one from a penalty and 2 own goals in the entirety of the tournament, um, and you play the same striker every single game, why are you not trying something different? It's clearly not working. You're not scoring. So why isn't Olivier Giroud coming in? He's the top goal scorer in French history. And yeah, I know he wants to phase out. He wants to move on. This is his last tournament for France, and he wants the young players to replace him. He said it himself. But it's not working. They need somebody up there. And Mbappe wants to play on that wing. And Griezmann, again, this is another one. Why is Antoine Griezmann playing on the right wing? He is very clearly, he's played wing in the past. He's played 9 in the past. But at this point in his career, his best position, everybody knows it, is at the 10, if not the 8. He is a center midfielder now, probably an attacking one. But, I mean, last World Cup, he did bits for France in that almost N'Golo Kante role. So I don't know why all of a sudden they're like, okay, we're going to make you the old Antoine Griezmann again. He's shown he has this new way about him. And this is something he's been able to do his entire career is adapt and learn new ways to play so that no matter what, he's not the most skillful player and he's not the biggest player and he's not the fastest player, but he has always found a way to make himself useful. And it's had to change. He's played wing, he's played striker, right? And he has now made himself useful in a new position, and France aren't taking advantage of it. So I think realistically, that front three for France, which recently has been Mbappe, Thuram, and Griezmann, is completely the wrong decision. I think that front three absolutely needs to be Mbappe, Giroud, and then Dembele, who was sensational against Portugal, France's best player by far, the only one of them who was really looking to take players on in the attacking third and actually go for goal. I mean, he had so much confidence. He was so quick, so fast, fun to watch, and he's coming off the bench. So for me, I think Dembele has to start. And I think you have to try something new at the 9. And maybe that doesn't necessarily mean Giroud, but it means not playing Thuram from the house. He hasn't scored. He's a 9, and he's played 5 games, and he hasn't scored. Got to be something better there for a French team that has so much talent across the board. Um, we'll move on to the next semifinal, which was another one to talk about a lack of attacking guile. I think England were much better in this game. Um, they didn't play Slovakia. They played Switzerland. Oops. It says Switzerland. England against Switzerland. I think they played a much better game. And I think that the change of formation did that. But I still think they're too safe with the way they play. I think Switzerland played really well. I think they were the better team. I think they came out and did exactly what they would have wanted to do. They scored first. I think the game plan for Switzerland went exactly how it was supposed to go. They just didn't have the same talent that England had to take them all the way. And I know it's Slovakia here, but Granit Xhaka, great tournament, and I think it was said in the broadcast at some point, like he will make an amazing coach very, very soon. When he retires, he will be a great coach. And I think this Switzerland team should be very happy with their performance. I don't know if this is the type of performance that they can replicate, because in 2 years' time, you don't know if Xhaka will still be there, and he's very, very, very important to that team. And then there's also a lot of other guys who are on the older side of things. So it's hard to know whether that was a last gasp for an old Switzerland side or a first chance for a new Switzerland side. Unlike that, the Germany side and unlike the Portugal side, I think there's a lot of questions around Switzerland. So I'll be interested to figure out and see what happens with them. And of course, I hope Granit Xhaka continues to get the respect that he deserves. And um, looking forward to watching him again at Bayer Leverkusen. And I hope that wasn't it for him with Switzerland. I'd like to see him again in 2026. And then back to England. I think the three really helped them. Um, and I think they, at the start of the game, played a lot better. They had a lot more possession. They were a lot more um, brave. They took more chances. They were more direct, which is what I think England has been lacking. And so I think that that would have been a positive for them in the locker room at halftime. They probably would have been like, "This is much better. We're feeling better." But as the game goes on for them, I think into the second half, and they're continuing to not be able to score. I think that the feeling comes again of, we're playing so much better, but not, it doesn't make a difference. We're still not scoring goals. And then the pressure comes back. The pressure of Gareth Southgate wanting you to be a defensive team, and the pressure of the fans wanting you to be perfect. I mean, there's that pressure for the three lines that you don't make mistakes if you're an England national team player. You play perfectly. And obviously that's not true all the time, but that seems to be like the expectation that the fans have. And so between those two things, I've said it before, it's a lot of pressure for them. And I think early on in the game, that three back and playing with more freedom for a lot of the guys would have helped that out. But I think as the game continues and they still can't score goals, and granted, I think in this case it had more to do with Switzerland than England when we're talking about why England didn't have success going forward. But nonetheless, they weren't having success going forward. That pressure comes back, and Switzerland grabbed the goal. But I think they were really good to turn it around as quick as they did. And this is one thing, and they've been saying it themselves the whole time, despite the fact that the football hasn't been very pretty from England, they've been winning, and they've showed a lot of heart. Um, and up to a certain point, you're like, yeah, well, if you win your round of 16 game, so what? When you win a quarterfinal game, you're there now. You're in the semifinals. And yeah, they haven't really played anybody, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when they play a Dutch team who should pose a little bit more of a challenge. Although I think that Dutch team's probably, I would say, more close to on par with Switzerland than a lot of people would think. I don't think that they're on the level of the other three semifinalists, but um, it will be a little bit more of a challenge for England. It should be. There's a lot more talent on that Dutch team than the teams that they faced so far. Um, for me, I would like to see Kobe Minu start. I'd like to see Luke Shaw start, and I'd like to see Cole Palmer start. Um, I've said it the whole tournament that I think Minu has been sensational in the midfield, and like everybody's been saying, he looks like he's been playing in there for years, and he will be playing in there for years now. Palmer, for me, has been better than Foden in this tournament. I think Foden's a better player, but I think Palmer fits what England need a little bit better right now, and I think that he would be a better person to have in the games for them um, going forward. I think Foden is too similar of a player to Bellingham, similar of a player to Kane, similar of a play, not to Saka necessarily, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like Foden doesn't bring anything special or different to the team. Um, obviously, great player, and I think he does bits for City, but there's a lot of guys in the England team who do the same thing he does. And unfortunately for him, he's been the one who's had to take the back seat and try and do something different, and it just hasn't worked for him. On the other hand, I think Palmer has taken initiative, and this is something obviously I said England were better at it this game, but still they've lacked initiative. They've lacked the ability to go direct. They've lacked the ability to be positive and take players on almost out of fear. And Cole Palmer, I know it's a nickname, but he's cold. He doesn't feel fear. It's been clear. I mean, nailing the first penalty. the kid, he's a kid. He's a kid, and he takes the first penalty for England in a quarterfinal and just slots it home, cold as ice. He's done it for. I mean, think about the penalties he's taken for Chelsea. Scored against Tottenham from the spot, Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City. Those two late in the game scored. So I mean, he knows how to deal with the pressure, obviously, and then also, like I said, a lot of the English players have seemingly looked scared to take players on, and Palmer has never been that way. Yeah, sometimes he loses the ball, and yeah, sometimes he gives it away cheaply. But at least he's trying something. I think Foden has been too afraid. He keeps turning back and playing these back passes, and I think that's the same stuff that Kane's doing. I think that's the same stuff that Bellingham's doing. But they also bring something else to the table. Foden's not playing like Foden. Cole Palmer's playing like Cole Palmer. And so I think you put Cole Palmer in there and he brings something extra to the England side. In the end, this game was an interesting one. I think Switzerland deserved to win. But England showed fight after giving up the goal. And once they scored that equalizer, I think Switzerland's game plan and was built around 90 minutes. They were built to score that one goal and win 1-0. That was it. And they gave up the equalizer. And from that point on, it was going to be all England. The substitutions that came on. And again, I think this happens in every game that like England have so much depth that when the other team subs, they get significantly weaker and England just stays about the same level of talent. So it's interesting. I think Switzerland were the better team. I think Switzerland deserved the win through the first 70 minutes, but England showed heart that when you have as many talented players as you do, sometimes it doesn't need to be pretty. If you've got heart and you've got the talent, you'll win a lot of games. I think they'll need to figure it out for a potential final and maybe even for the semifinal. But for now, it's a winning recipe. So there's not too much to complain about on the England side of things yet. It hasn't been pretty, but it doesn't need to be pretty to win silverware. I'm gonna move back because this one I got the right game. um, the Netherlands versus Turkey. Um, what an interesting game. It was very entertaining. Similar, very similar to the. Actually, I'll say, yeah, very very similar to the Austria Turkey game. Um, Turkey took the lead and then threw a. Oh my goodness, what a ball from Arda Güler. He's been those last two games sensational. His passing is unreal, unreal. Um, what a ball! Turkey take the lead, and from then on, I think game plan simple. It's do what we did against Austria. Let's play organized defense and play off of our passion and the passion of our fans. And for a while, they were able to do that, and it stumped the Dutch. The only difference I think in this game was that Turkey didn't have the counterattack threat. I think against Austria, every once in a while, there was a threat to go forward, and they won corners, which they scored off of to make it 2-0, which in the end is the reason they went through. Um, because, Austria obviously pulled one back. If Turkey don't get that second goal, I think Austria win that game for sure. But Turkey got the second goal. And they sat back after the first goal and they countered, and it worked. But against the Dutch, the counterattack just wasn't happening for Turkey. Um, and then the Dutch scored twice, pressing on Turkey. Um, Once that first goal went in, Turkey were kind of caught in no man's land. And the Dutch had a lot more time to score. The Dutch had to score one goal in 30 minutes at one point. And once Turkey really started to settle in there, it was like 30 minutes left. Dutch need one goal, right? For Austria, it was 30 minutes left. We need two goals. So it's a little different. Turkey could sit in a lot more, and they could afford to allow one goal. When the Dutch scored, Turkey then get caught in no man's land where it's like, okay, well, do we go try and get the lead back? Or do we just try and hold the 1-1 for the rest of the game? And in that case, it's gone from, all right, we need to hold the 1-1 for 30 minutes to 60 minutes. Or we have to hold this result for, 1-0. We had to hold it for 30 minutes, 60 to 90. They scored 70 something. And now you have to hold it 70 to 120. That's 50 minutes of holding a score, which is really difficult. 50 minutes to just sit back and not allow a goal is not easy. And in that no man land of not being sure of whether they were going to sit back defensively or try and get a goal to take the lead back, the Dutch scored again and then gave Turkey a taste of their own medicine. And Turkey are not as good attacking wise as the Dutch, and the Dutch are just as good defensively as Turkey. I think really that's where it happens. And for Turkey, the disappointment will come that I really think this game they became too reliant on set pieces. I think in the last game, yeah, they scored 2 goals off of set pieces last game against Austria, and that's great. But they also relieved pressure at times by getting out, forcing Austria to build all the way back up the field, and then obviously that counterattack creates more opportunities for set pieces. I think Turkey were going down easy, trying to get set pieces all over the field, and then every set piece, it was like, all right, this is it. This is the only way we're going to score. There weren't a lot of shots from distance or actual attempts to build anything. They were just kind of, if we score from a set piece, great. If not, we're going to hold on to this lead. And in the end, they weren't able to do either of them. So it's a tough way to go out for Turkey. I think on the back of the Demiral suspension, it's tough. A deserved suspension, but tough nonetheless. But you can't blame one player not being there, especially when you, as Turkey, played in a game where, all but like 4 players got yellow carded against Czechia. So, to some degree, they've done it to themselves. They made themselves one dimensional. The only thing that they could do was set pieces and defend. And then, yeah, they had to deal with suspensions, multiple. And the Demiral one was unnecessary. You don't need to throw up the sign of a political party that wants to do genocide in your own country. That's completely unnecessary. So, Demiral should take some blame for that, for Turkey's fall out of the tournament, because he made a stupid mistake and it cost his team. Um, and other players who got yellow cards throughout the tournament made it difficult for Turkey to have a consistent lineup. And then, obviously, like I said, you're one dimensional. You're going to struggle. For the Dutch, I think it's been similar to England. Haven't really played anybody, haven't looked great, but they found ways to win. Wout Weghorst was huge for me, the substitution there. I think he should start over Depay, honestly. I don't think Depay has given them much. But Weghorst has been, a target man. And when you have, and this is what it's been for the Dutch going forward, they haven't been playing with a true 9. They have a lot of guys who I'd say could play as a 10 or could play as a winger. And so their build-up play is great. But then when it gets to the final third, it's often lacking. That's why you see, Memphis Depay has tried to score a Trivela from a corner. And Xavi Simons is hitting volleys from all over the place and trying to do Trivelas because it's hard going forward. They're struggling to score. It's not for the same reasons as England, but it is the same problem as England. They struggle to score. It's the same problem as France, which is why these semifinals might be pretty boring when we've got the Dutch, France, and England, and only Spain in there. Like, you're gonna have to rely on Spain for the goals. But I think if the Dutch go with Weghorst from the off, I think they pose a bigger threat to England than if they take him off the bench late. And Weghorst has said before that he's been frustrated with the fact that he doesn't start games. I think he should. I think he's proven time and time again that he is a focal point and a real important piece to that Dutch side. That Dutch England game is going to be good. But first, we'll talk about Spain and France. Is a really tough one because Spain, to me, the better team. They're more organized. They have better chemistry. They work better together. They are more cohesive. That they have a clear identity, and they play well all across the pitch. France, on the other hand, it's like, all right, we're going to sit back and defend and see if Mbappe can do it on his own or Dembele can do it on his own, and that's not a winning recipe, especially against a Spanish side that might have a better a better defense than a lot of the teams that France have played so far, maybe outside of Portugal. So I think for me, if Spain look like Spain have throughout the whole tournament, it's an easy win. And I give Spain like a 70% chance of that happening, that they look like themselves and France's backline doesn't, you know, give them any more problems than the tough backlines they've already played with. Like they've played really teams that play like France, maybe not as good as France, but Italy wanted to sit back and defend them. And Albania wanted to sit back and defend them. And their backup team did so. Um, and Croatia wanted to sit back and defend them, but they beat all those teams. They got 9 points, and then they've played Germany. They've beaten Germany, and they played a Georgia side who are really really energetic and tough. They've gone through the ringer a little bit. I think Croatia and Italy were tough. Georgia. I think is tougher, in all honesty, than anyone France has played outside of. Oh man, half the teams France has played. Maybe I would say Austria is better, the Dutch are better, and Portugal is better. But Georgia are better than Poland. Georgia were better than Poland in this tournament, and Georgia were better than France playing that first round. Another boring game. Oh, Belgium. Yeah, Georgia were better than Belgium in the tournament. So half the teams, but that's one of the worst teams Spain have played. So I think Spain have a great recipe and it's worked. Um, there's two questions for me in this game. Is France different or that much better defensively than Germany, Italy, and Croatia? The answer could be yes. I don't think so. I think they are better, but I don't think they're that much better that Spain will not be able to score at least once in this game. I think Spain will get a goal. The other question I have, though, is Spain have a lot of suspensions. Morata's not going to be there. Carvajal's not going to be there. Those are the big two. But a lot of guys in that last game. Pedri's also not going to be available off the bench even. So, um, they're missing some key players. Now, their backup squad got a whole game and played really well against Albania. So I don't think they will be too worried. But against a France side where I'm saying, yeah, they're the best defense that they're going to face in this tournament. And this is a team that in France that has shut everybody down. I don't think that they have that much more that they can shut Spain down, but maybe a Spain side that's missing a few key pieces. I'll be honest. I don't think France figure it out offensively in the whole tournament. If they win this tournament, it's going to be, they're not going to. I would at max say France score two more goals in the tournament, and that's the max. My guess would be they score one more. That is my guess. France score one more, and that's if they win the tournament. If they lose to Spain, they might not score anymore. If they win the tournament, if they're lifting the trophy, I bet it's on the back of one goal. They win one of their games 0-0 on penalties, and they win the other game 1-0. That is how France have played. I don't think they're going to figure it out offensively. I don't. And for whatever reason, whether that's because France struggle against European opposition, um, they have struggled in the Euros attacking. This Euros and last Euros were not pretty for them. So whether it's that or whether it's the case that they're in between. I said that it's possible that Deschamps, while he's trying to win these tournaments, is using them in a creative way to try and figure out a new blend of attackers. And that might explain why their World Cups, they play so well offensively, and their Euros, they don't. But another potential is you don't play South American teams in the Euros, and maybe France just put the scores up against the South Americans and the Africans and the Asians and the North Americans. I don't know what the reason is, but for some reason, they haven't been able to score goals at Euros and they have at World Cups. And I don't think that that's going to change. I don't think that they're going to score. So for me, the question is, do Spain score? And I think the answer is yes, Spain will score, Spain will win. But if Spain struggle in the attacking third, like everybody has against France, and it becomes that defensive battle that France have looked for in every game, France will win. France know how to win those games. It's just how it is. But I don't think that Spain are going to allow themselves to drop to that level the way Portugal did and the way Belgium did. I think Spain are going to play their game no matter who it's against. And I think that they are the right team to take down this French back line and get rid of the incredibly boring side that this France team are under Deschamps. In this game, I'm going to go England. I don't really have much reasoning with this one because I haven't been impressed with either side. Um, and I think both teams have played bad and just squeaked through with lucky wins. The reason I take England is because I don't think Wout Weghorst will start. So I think the Dutch will struggle offensively until he comes on. I don't think they'll score a goal until Weghorst comes on. And that might keep them from scoring for up until the 70th minute, which already then you're looking for 20 minutes to score a goal in the 90. And then England, on the other hand, like have better depth. What I think that game will get to late because I think England struggle to score early and the Dutch struggle to score without Weghorst. So this game will be 0-0, probably upwards of the 70th minute. And yeah, they'll sub in Wout Weghorst, and that might get them more chances. But they'll also sub out other players, and they'll lose a lot of their talent. While England makes other subs, and their talent level will not change. So for me, I think England wins this game because of depth. I would say they'll win it 1-0 or 2-1 in overtime. I don't think it'll be on pens. And then I also think, because I didn't give a score prediction for that last game, I'm going to say 2-0 Spain. So 2-1. Actually, I'll say 1-0 England and 2-0 Spain. And yeah, I think that's it for this one. Come back. I'll be doing the exact same type of thing with the Copa America tomorrow. So yeah. All right. Hope you enjoyed. And this has been Salibo Football, and I'll catch you tomorrow.